the way, let's just normalize that we've all made money mistakes.
Oh my gosh.
Great. Okay. Everybody's head nodding here. We've all made money mistakes.
Yeah.
We'll point back to our episode where we shared some of our doozies.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we've even done an episode about that, and we could probably do a couple more episodes.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And then you can look at the billionaires, the millionaires. And by the way, Kim Kardashian was on Call Her Daddy and saying she did not feel financially secure with Kanye.
Wow.
Okay, so it doesn't matter who you are. The amount of net worth is financial security, financial conversations is hard for people.
Yeah.
We don't start normalizing it, it's going to be hard.
Hey, dear listeners, we need to let you know that Kevin and Stephanie offer investment advice through Private Advisor Group, which is a federally registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations to any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Now let's get on with the show. This is Take Back Retirement, the show that's redefining retirement for women. Retirement is an old-fashioned cultural concept. We want to reclaim the word so you can make it your own. I'm Stephanie McCullough, financial planner and founder of Sophia Financial, where our mission is to reduce women's money stress and empower them to make wise, holistic decisions so they can get back to living their best lives. Kevin Gaines is my longtime colleague with deep knowledge in the technical stuff, investments, taxes, and retirement plan rules. He's a little bit geeky and quantitative. I'm a little bit touchy-feely and qualitative. Together, through conversations and interviews, we aim to give you the information and motivation you need to move forward with confidence. We're so glad you're here.
Coming to you semi-live from the beautiful West Lakes office complex in suburban Philadelphia, this is Stephanie McCullough and Kevin Gaines of Sophia Financial and American Financial Management Group. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin.
Today we have a rare occurrence, a repeat guest. Erika Wasserman is an author and professional speaker who talks about the money stuff most people avoid. Today we're talking about her fabulous new book, Conversations with Your Financial Therapist. Erika has a background in finance and growing brands, and she helps people understand the emotional side of money so that better decisions follow. She is one of only 100 certified financial therapists in the country. Erika blends real talk, practical tools, and warmth on stage, in sessions, and in her book. Her work helps people lower stress, improve communication, and finally feel confident around money. Let's welcome Erika. Erika Wasserman, welcome back to Take Back Retirement.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. It's always fun having a conversation with you both.
When I was at this conference and saw your book on the table of the publisher who was exhibiting, I was so thrilled. Tell us. First, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Erika, as a refresher, or for the slackers who haven't listened to our earlier interview with you, what is a financial therapist versus a financial advisor versus a financial consultant versus the other hodgepodges of words we use?
Great question. And when I introduce myself at a cocktail party, I get that puppy dog look, the head tilt and the what? What did you say? I have not heard of that before because there's only 100 certified in the country right now. It is a growing field. The field of financial therapy started in 2008 during the financial crisis. At Kansas State, they put in the room financial advisors and psychology academias and mixed everybody together. And financial therapy was created because the emotional side of money impacts us in so many ways. In fact, Harvard did a study, Daniel Kahneman, 90% of our financial decisions are emotional. 10% is logical.
Yep.
So on my journey of life, of the roller coaster of life, I have a great relationship. I had a great relationship with my dad before he passed away, talking about money. I got a degree in finance, worked in consulting. And when I heard the term financial therapist, I knew this was my passion. So I went to Kansas State and got a graduate certificate in financial therapy. So this is the emotional side of money. I hand off, right now I'm working with a client. I'm going to refer him to a tax accountant that's good with back taxes. He needs estate planning. So I refer out to other people that do the dollars and cents and the paper and the legal aspects and the dollars to aspect. I do the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I work on is how do you sleep at night, how you communicate, not just at home, but in the workplace, how you feel around money.
And so often that's the barrier that we see with clients is it's not the dollars and cents and the math, it's the mindset.
It is. And it's based on oftentimes our background, our religion, and our experiences. So you might have somebody come in that says, I will never invest in pharmaceutical. I got burned 10 years ago and that stock was awful. Don't put me back in it. Logically, it's a great stock, right? It's a great investment avenue. Emotionally, there's a block there.
Yeah. Relatively speaking, the dollars and cents, the math, that's the easy part.
Totally. Tell us why a book first,
Okay.
and then kind of why this different type of structure that you put it together with.
So here's the interesting thing. I'm always learning, which is cool, right? And I'm always learning about myself. Recently, I did human design. Okay, you're familiar with it.
Have heard of it.
Okay. And what I learned is I'm somebody who likes an invitation. So Wiley Publishing, which is a well-renowned publishing house, came to me and invited me to write a book in this space.
Awesome.
And for me, I was like, I'm part of your business planning. You're like, oh, I'll write a book someday.
Yeah.
And a girl that loves an invitation was like, yes, let's do it. And so after a couple months of sitting on it, negotiating the contract, I said yes. And all of a sudden, Conversations with Your Financial Therapist was born. And then I had to do the real part, which was writing a book that would be impactful for people, not just to say I wrote a book and a check mark next to my name, because this isn't about me. My goal in life, my purpose in life is to spark conversations. And in 2026, my goal is to spark 10,000 financial conversations.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes.
Oh, so did they come to you with an idea of what they wanted from the book? Or was it just, Erika, write us a book?
It was Erika, write us a book.
Oh.
And so then I had to look inward to say, what patterns am I seeing with my clients? What information do I want to get out in the world? And as a certified financial therapist, there's around 100 in the country, which means I was number 15, very proud of that.
So cool.
Yes, which means it's also a very new space. And so when I started my practice, there wasn't that many tools out there to get people talking about money that as a practitioner that I could use.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, I created Let's Talk Finances conversation cards. So right, deck of cards to get people talking about money. I have the couples edition and the divorce edition, because if you don't do the couples, chances are you might need the divorce. And then I realized that there wasn't a repeatable framework that my clients could do at home when I get the skill and the confidence to start talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the money mindset method came in. It's a 5-step approach using the word money.
So clever.
If you see my chat with my friends going back and forth, we were trying to figure it out of what we could use. And once the word money came in, we're like, how did we not think of this? Like the first word. So anyway, so the framework itself allows for conversation. And then I said, this is great, but I'm a storyteller. I don't enjoy reading business books that talk at me, that are very case study based. I'm not an academia. I love a good novel. And so that's what I ended up doing. I created 7 personas, personalities, characters, however you want to frame it. And we follow them through life so that way you can see a vision of what it would look like if you haven't even gotten to that stage. Or if you have gotten to that stage, you might see a little of yourself in one of the characters.
I just thought that was such a brilliant way to do it, because it doesn't feel like you're slogging through a textbook of stuff you should know. And I definitely want to dive into the framework, but let's back up for a sec about this idea that having money conversations is a skill. For most of it, it's a skill we haven't learned, so it's new, and we need to practice it. I think that's just a kind of a different way to think about it.
Yeah, it is. And here's a skill that I've learned now being a business owner is My skill, I need to work on sales. I'm great at connecting and great at having conversations, but I've never done sales training before. It is an art. It takes practice. It's conversations. And you know what? So is your relationship with money. So is any other skill in your job that you're looking to do. So what do you do when your boss comes to you and says, we're going to add something new to your desk? You have to go practice it. You start low. You start with a mentor. You start reading books or watching social media, whatever it is, right? YouTube, to start building that skill. And talking about money is no different, especially because most people grow up in a home where you do not talk about money. How can you get better at something?
So, Erika, you were talking about these personas, and I was curious as I was reading through it. Are they particular people or are they composites of people? And which one of these is you?
They're composites of people, and a little bit of each have a little bit of me in there, or somebody that I love represented. So yeah, I really tried to, and there's so many storylines, talking about building a storyline there and talking about money and storylines. There were so many different directions that these topics could go, that each chapter could be its own book, right? Like I do a chapter on merging money. I do a chapter on co-parenting for travel soccer, right? There's so many different ways to have these conversations where the conversations could lead 100 different outcomes. So I had to stay focused and get some in there. And some people say, oh, they could have been more complicated scenarios. But the reality is, if I make it too complicated, it's not for the general public to get used to these conversations.
Exactly. I think the beautiful part is the stories, the kind of the skills that you weave through the stories are applicable in different situations.
Oh, and for me, they're plenty complicated, right? When you have Jose's mom that dies and the conversations with the siblings, and
oh yeah,
it gets messy, but life gets messy. Relationships get messy. And the trigger for most of these things is money.
Right.
Ego comes in and resentment gets thrown in, and not resentment of what you did yesterday, resentment generally of what you did 20 years ago.
Right. Talk about messy and complicated. So let's dive into the framework, MONEY. Walk us through it. And it's a framework for like setting yourself up for a constructive money conversation. Is that right?
Yeah. Let's have a productive money conversation. So right now I'm going to ask you, your audience, what do you do when you're ready to have a conversation about money?
Get stressed? Get cramps in your stomach?
Kevin, you?
Yeah.
What?
If it's with my spouse, I got to get myself prepared for the conversation because we have very different attitudes towards money and very different tolerances towards the conversation. It's not a battle, but it's definitely coming from two different perspectives. So it's a little, I get apprehensive maybe.
Mm.
So we'll get into that in a minute. Let's come back to that, the two different people with the different money mindsets. But really, people just want the conversation over with.
Yeah.
They want it to be done.
Right. So, they want to be on the other side.
And so I'll give a great example is somebody needs to book plane tickets to go visit the in-laws for summer break. Don't have this conversation while the other partner is like walking out the door to go play golf. Hey, honey, did you do the plane tickets? That's not going to be a productive conversation. You're going to get frustrated when he says no or she says no. And then when you bring it up, it's not in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
So the M is make the conversation comfortable. Put intention behind it. Kevin, you were saying like for you, it's the apprehension of that conversation and have to prepare for it. Is think, when did you have a productive conversation with the person that you're looking to have the conversation with? Was it in the car driving to dinner? Was it Saturday morning over a cup of coffee? Was it on a walk when you're walking the dogs? Sitting on the couch at 4:00 on a Sunday, right? What was that environment like? Setting yourself up for success starts with your setting. Making the conversation comfortable. The time of day, which means not right before you go to bed.
That's the worst.
And end of day, we have decision fatigue. We've spent the whole day talking and making decisions from what to eat for breakfast to what time to pick up the kids to what to eat for dinner and forget about all the work responsibilities that you just had might not be the right time for a financial conversation. Temperature of the room.
Oh, really?
If you're hot, you're uncomfortable, you're cold, again, you want it over with. And tone of voice.
Ooh, yeah.
Sit down and have a conversation. We need to talk.
Then the other person's bracing themselves, right? They're getting their defenses up.
You got it. So M, make the conversation comfortable. And it might not be the most comfortable for you. It's comfortable for both of you. So if you're working with a co-parent, it might not be come into my kitchen table to sit at the table. It might be let's meet at the park while the kid plays basketball on neutral ground. So think about that as well. The next is O, one question at a time.
This is big too.
Because what happens when you finally sit down for the financial conversation?
If you want it over, you want to get them all done, check off all the boxes, right?
Oh, and remember 3 years ago when we lent your brother $600, we haven't been paid back, and the kitchen sink gets thrown in here. One question at a time. What I recommend for people is write it down on a sticky note. Put it in front of you.
To stay focused.
If you are working on something for your children, college retirement, college fund or rehab or sending them off to a summer program, whatever it is, and especially if it's a hostile environment or you have different money views, put a picture of your kid in front of there. Of you guys. Why are we having this conversation? Which goes to the N, nurtured shared goals. This conversation is important to me because if you don't have buy-in from both of you or 3 or 4 parties, whoever you're having this conversation with, you're not going to reach a goal. Somebody's going to sabotage it. And your goal might be different than their reason.
Right. So how do you surface the shared goals and get everybody on the same page?
Simple question is, why is this important to you? Why is it important for Joni to play travel soccer? Well, as a kid, I played travel soccer, or as a kid, I couldn't afford travel soccer. This is really important to me. And the other one is, I don't care about soccer, but I really like the teamwork and the people that she's going towards. Okay, so we both agree that this is important.
Nice. That's simpler than I was making it out to be in my head.
And oftentimes it is. You've heard the story about the orange?
No.
Okay. So 2 people are fighting over an orange. I want the orange. No, I get the orange. There's only one orange to be had. And once they talked about it, one wanted the orange peel to zest for seasoning, and somebody else wanted the orange juice for a marinade, let's call it, for a recipe. They both could use the orange.
Right.
They just didn't understand that their shared goals could both be met if they just talked about why it was important to have that orange.
And that could be just a simple question to find out.
Question. Aging parents. I see a lot. I'm in the sandwich generation. Panini generation. Kid going off to college, kid, aging parents. And sometimes with siblings, it's looking at your parents. Why is it important for mom or dad to go into a nursing home? And for one, it might not be. Well, then why is it important for you to support me in this? And if they're not, then might not be a part of that equation that you're building. Or how could they donate if they can't donate time? If they can't donate money to solve the problem, maybe they could donate time. And that's going to go to E, evaluate practical solutions.
I like that you had the word practical in there. Can you talk about that?
Right. Well, it's not just, we're going to win the lottery and it's going to solve all of our problems. This is your brainstorming. This is so much fun. And what I recommend is set a timer. Each of you write down, grab a sheet of paper on your phone, how you think you could solve this problem separately. Then share the ideas. What resources can we access? What funds do we need? What people can be involved in this? Also use ChatGPT nowadays. Put the problem in there. You'll get a third person point of view to say, hey, have you looked at it this way? And this gives you an opportunity to maybe think of something outside the box that you haven't thought of, and or that you, together with the person you're working with or people that you're working with, come up with a solution that works for everybody. And the last one is just as important, is why. Saying yes to compassion. Compassion for yourself, and compassion for the other person that's having that conversation. It might be very uncomfortable. So I'll give personal example for me. When my dad passed away, He was my financial accountability partner. He was also my mom's with a 50-year marriage. And then I had to spend the next year really bringing up her confidence of terminology of how to pay bills to speaking with the accountant and the financial advisor. I needed to have compassion for her. And I also needed compassion for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So there were times where I'd leave her house and call up a friend and do what I needed to do, and vent. And there were times where I also needed to get up and go get a glass of water and just take a break for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And on the same side, she needed compassion for herself and for me. Right. And so maybe that is just taking a deep breath to be like, I'm learning a new skill.
Mm-hmm. In the midst of grief and upheaval.
Right. And compassion that this is all new to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you work with somebody and you're learning something new, and there's a framework and there's compassion and there's problem solving, you tend to want to lean in a little more.
Mm.
That's what I see working with clients is once they get this framework down, they're able to have more productive and healthier conversations that lead to better health and wealth, healthier relationships, better night's sleep. And then wealth is because your money is being able to go in the direction that you want or what you want to meet your goals.
On the compassion question, if you find yourself slipping out of compassion or suddenly you have that realization like, oh, I'm not feeling the most compassionate right now. I like your, have a glass of water tip, but is there another way to kind of bring yourself back from the brink or make amends with the person that you're interacting with?
So the one thing that comes to mind is I recommend when you're merging money in that chapter, I believe it is.
Love that chapter.
The password. Come up with a password. Now, I will go back to working with my mom or my 3 teenage kids. I know there's a certain point in my life where this conversation is not going anywhere, right? We are on the merry-go-round.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the password comes in, where you just say palm tree, whatever the password is that you come up with. It's like, we need to take a break, go for a walk, go get the glass of water, come back in 10 minutes, but we need to regroup. And I highly recommend that because these are new conversations and uncomfortable for a lot of people. And so if you do need to take a break and come back,
right.
That's important. I have one client that I've been working with that they're talking about getting married and engaged. And she goes, but when we have financial conversations, I notice when he gets uncomfortable, he'll get up and start washing the dishes. Initially, I thought he was leaving the conversation. And now I know he'll go in, mess around in the kitchen for a couple minutes, and then come back to the couch.
Interesting.
He just needed that break. So
yeah,
watch for patterns as well with the people that you're talking to.
So I just heard an interview with John Batiste and Suleika Jawad, the couple, and they have a password among themselves. It's lunch meat. So if they're having any kind of conversation that's getting fraught and someone's getting defensive, they say lunch meat, they take a little break and they come back.
I love that. It could be anything. And sometimes I say the sillier, the better, right? I have one couple that I was working with that they had a, like the easy button from Staples. It was a dance party button. And one of the things she was annoyed with is he was always buying like stupid things off Instagram. And so they're like, we're going to use the dance party button. We need to take a break.
I like it.
It's to freeze and dance. And they say they use it in lots of different conversations, not just their financial conversations anymore.
We were talking about compassion and, compassion for others, compassion for yourself. I am guessing that it's easier to see being compassionate to others, but harder to understand you need to be compassionate to yourself. How do you recognize that you need to do that or that you're not doing that?
That's a tough one. I think the way you feel. If you feel like you're not making progress, you're talking negative to yourself, those are good triggers that maybe you just need to have a little bit more compassion for yourself. Life's a roller coaster and we have crazy moments. And so what you're dealing with today, there's a really good chance you've never dealt with before. And so sometimes it's just taking a breath to be like, this is the first time I'm dealing with a sick kid, an aging parent. Like I'm learning. And if not, I hope you have a good friend that will tap you on the shoulder to say, be kind to yourself.
Yeah. So one of the things I love most about your book is that it's super practical. And I've got 2 examples. First is the scripts. And after reading the introduction, that's where I turn first. You have actual written out scripts at the end of the book for different situations or conversations. Tell us about what was the inspiration there? What were you trying to accomplish?
First, I want to know which was your favorite script.
Oh, now I got to go back and look. All right, well, you answer. I'll look through.
Okay, well, you look at that. For me, people kept coming to me and saying, I don't know what the conversation could look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, let me show you what it could look like. The first script in there is Madison, at 19 gets a credit card because, she's a nail in her tire. And the guy at the car dealership says, here, slides the paperwork over. And all of a sudden she's in credit card debt. It shows you how to call up a credit card company and ask to lower your APR.
Yeah.
It will show you how to have a conversation when your adult child moves back in and wants the air condition lower than you want it, which means your electric bill's going up, right?
Says the woman from South Florida.
Which my kid always walks around my house saying, it's so hot in here. And I'm like, great, when you pay the bills, you can set it at any temperature. Until then, sorry.
No, I like the blending family and finances and food bills, right? Like it feels like that could be so fraught. And I love how you say like calmly, like this part is said calmly. There's some crossing arms. There's some pausing and sighing, right? Like it feels real, but it also feels like, oh, this is doable.
Right. And I believe that script is the blended families is his kids, growing boys, are eating a lot and she's in charge of the grocery bill. So how do you have that conversation of who's responsible for what?
And even though they're specific, they are applicable to other situations. Like some of the little introductions or phrases can be used in other places.
Yeah. And that was the goal of this. Listen, I'm a very practical person. I want something that could be implemented. I grew up in a household that my dad and I just talked about money all the time. It was just natural.
So amazing.
It is. But as a kid, I didn't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was learning about term insurance, universal insurance. It was just normal conversations. And so when I got into later in life, married, divorced, all of that stuff, my friends around me never had these conversations. And they're like, ooh, how do you ask that question?
Yeah.
And so that's where the scripts come in, just a little peek into like what it could look like.
So good. So the other super practical thing that I have never seen before, which was amazing, is the different shapes of combining money. I mean, just actual diagrams of her income, his income, or their spouse one or partner two income, and where it might flow to, bank accounts shared, separate, expenses. Oh, that is the coolest thing ever.
Hey, I'm glad that resonated. But a lot of couples just default to whoever's better, and I'm using quotes right now, right? Better at finances. We're not taught it. And so we tend to let one person handle it.
Right.
And we make assumptions that they know things.
Yeah.
That they're not in debt, right? Or they know how to finance a house or a car or college tuition for our kids. And sometimes when we're merging money, it's really in the beginning, sit down and have those conversations. I also put in there that it changes when they welcome the child in one of the couples.
Mm-hmm.
What you decide at maybe 23 when you get married is going to look a lot different at 53 maybe or 43. Yeah. And it's open dialogue. It's that muscle memory. It's that practice that you're having with your partner. So I encourage everybody who's listening is don't assume that ship sailed. And so we've been doing it like this. It's fine. I met with a client yesterday, high net worth. Wife is not involved in the finances at all. She trusts me. Do you have future goals you're working on together? I know what she likes. I know what she wants. And I'm like, here's a deck of cards. Go home and have some conversation. Start getting her involved because you have 2 young kids at home. So your life has changed and her visions might have changed.
Yeah. And I feel like couples often come together and they have seen, if they're lucky, if their parents shared any of this with them, one way of handling money as a couple. And they kind of think any other way is aberrant or something, or like it's not normal, or like if we don't put everything in the same joint pot, that's wrong. Like, what's wrong with that? And that's not true. There are as many different possible ways of doing this as there are couples. But I think you laying out, like, here's 6 or 7 different ways it could look, might just be open people's eyes and be like, oh, I like this feature of that one. And I like that feature of this one. And maybe we can have a conversation and get to something. Because I think the goal of it is to make it simpler, have less friction, right? I mean, talk about the goal. Like when you're deciding how to merge finances, what's the primary objective that you should keep in mind?
What's going to work best for you both? Not what worked for your parents, not what Susie down the streets did.
Yeah.
What your best friend told you they did. What's going to work best for the two of you? Test it out. Test it out for 6 months and then group and say, this worked, this didn't work. Now, Kevin, you mentioned when you sit down with your wife, you have very different money mindsets.
Yes.
Okay. Do we know how we get a money mindset? So our money mindset comes from our background. So it'd be interesting to see, and I'm sure you know insight into your wife,
right,
what the kitchen table looked like at 10 years old, talking about summer plans. Who in the family was having that conversation, if anybody?
It was between her parents. Even back then, she didn't really have interest, so she didn't pay much attention. Contrast that with me. I had especially with my dad, a very open relationship with money. I mean, I remember, and this may say more bad about me than anything, sitting at the table with him doing taxes when I was not even a teenager yet. It's like,
this explains a lot.
Taxes. I figured you'd make her be a comment there. But yeah, it's like, I thought it was neat.
Right. And so, by the way, Kevin, I'm with you because my dad, back in the day, AOL, one computer, the dial up. And I would sit next to my dad while he was trading stocks.
Uh-huh.
It was just something that we talked about. So our background is a big part of it. Religion and culture. Money is greed, doesn't buy happiness. Culturally, a lot of my first generation clients will say to me, I am my parents' retirement plan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Culturally, my mom, educated, she now has a PhD, but when she first got her teaching degree in New York, couldn't open a bank account.
Right.
She needed her father and then my dad. And so then add in our personal experiences. And that's where we get our money mindset. And then all of a sudden we merge money with a partner,
right,
who has a different background sitting at that kitchen table, maybe a different religion, culture, and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But don't talk about money.
Exactly. No skill around having conversations.
So no wonder why half of couples today fight over money.
Yeah.
And you just want the conversation over with.
And even I think when couples know that they're coming from different backgrounds, they don't have the skills, right? They want to have a loving partnership conversation, but no one's taught us how.
Right. And also we don't ask the questions. We don't ask, do you believe in supporting adult parents? Why is it important to you?
Yeah.
It's just assume this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And having understanding, just like when you take on a job and a new task, when you understand the bigger picture,
mm-hmm.
it's better to execute on the details. And so my invite, because girl loves an invitation. So my invitation to you is ask the questions in storytelling form.
Yeah.
Invite somebody to tell them at 10 years old, how was vacation decided? Tell me what it was like for you to go to college if that person went to university. Was it a guarantee? Was it paid for? Was it scholarship? And how did that feel? And you'll start getting some insight into the people around you. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be your best friends over cocktails. It would be interesting where the conversation starts going.
Yeah. And I do think we'll all be better off if we have more of these conversations, which is why I love your goal of sparking 10,000 conversations in 2026.
Thank you.
Erika, I wrote down this quote, this statistic from the book. And then as I was looking back from last time you were on the podcast, you mentioned this statistic before. It's the study that shows 81% of people were taught not to talk about money, but they weren't taught why. They didn't know why they weren't supposed to talk about money. I mean, what does that do to us?
It shuts us down.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you shut down? No growth.
Yeah.
No opportunity to see things differently.
Mm-hmm. No opportunity to have a meaningful connection around the topic.
No. Or back to that brainstorming that we're talking about, the E and the money, that brainstorming practical solutions.
Yeah.
If you're not talking to other people to come up with a solution or seeing how people are doing it and learning from others around you, you're putting yourself at a deficit.
Mm-hmm. And even just the grace of realizing that other people struggle with this too and have hangups, because if you don't talk about it, you think you're the only one that finds this stuff difficult.
Yeah. And by the way, let's just normalize that we've all made money mistakes.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Okay. Everybody's head nodding here. We've all made money mistakes.
Yeah.
We'll point back to our episode where we shared some of our doozies.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we've even done an episode about that, and we could probably do a couple more episodes.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And then you can look at the billionaires, the millionaires. And by the way, Kim Kardashian was on Call Her Daddy and saying she did not feel financially secure with Kanye.
Wow.
Okay. So it doesn't matter who you are. The medal of net worth is financial security, financial conversations. It's hard for people.
Yeah.
We don't start normalizing it, it's going to be hard. So that's why I wrote the book, right? I said yes to writing the book is because my passion is to get people being more comfortable. They didn't have my dad in their back pocket growing up. And so that's my gift to the world is practical ways to start having conversations, to grow that skill. So it's not just shut down. Because by the way, people around you are watching. Your kids are watching. Your nieces and nephews are watching. So how you handle these conversations make a difference.
Yeah, there are ripple effects right beyond yourself. It's not selfish to want to get better at this stuff because this more stable and financially secure you are, the better for the world. But also, like you say, you're role modeling to others. I love that. So I was just recently asked to write an article for a financial advisor publication about working with a parent. And I ended the article, it felt very vulnerable to talk about, but I ended it with something that you say in your book. You say, thanks, Dad. And that's how I ended mine. Thanks, Dad. Because I started working with his business when I was 30.
And we're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
There's a lot of things that my dad wasn't great at, like a hammer, anything that needed building.
Same.
Right? So there's skills that I need to learn, but this is an area, and therefore this is why we're in our field. And we get to pass it down to hopefully the next generation. So those are people who are very handy with hammers and running and other great skills. Like you can teach us and we can teach you here. So lean on the resources you have around you. And if not, find the resources to be around you.
I love that you're sharing this gift to the world. Erika, where can people learn more? Where can they follow you and find out about all the great things you're doing in the world?
Yeah, I'll make it simple. Your Financial Therapist. So website is yourfinancialtherapist.com. On social media handles, it's Your Financial Therapist. And on Amazon, if you're interested in purchasing the book, it's an audiobook now as well.
Awesome.
The cards, everything's available on my store, Your Financial Therapist, on Amazon as well.
And the book is Conversations with Your Financial Therapist, Erika Wasserman. Erika, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I always enjoy our conversations. Look forward to the next one.
I'll share this. When my wife and I first got together and got married and, establishing the household, we actually did do a chart of the money response of how to divvy up the money. She had been married before and had a divorce. And so she was gun shy about merging the money together, even though both of us grew up with a unified money structure. In both of our cases, Dad was worked, or at least was the primary breadwinner, and Mom handled the budgeting. So we both came with that, but she was gun shy. So we actually sat down and said, okay, I'll cover these bills, you cover those bills, and, we'll keep the accounts separate. And then, that worked fine for, 15, 20 years. And then she decided to take a sabbatical for a few years. And well, then at that point, it just became natural to have a unified system. And it just the point is, some of these things just happen organically.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, gun shy about it. Okay, we'll do it this way.
But you had a conversation about it.
But we had a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, it doesn't make sense to be doing this now with only one income. So let's go with this system. And that's kind of how we had those money conversations. But it was funny that she drew up this chart. It's like, I remember that we had a chart like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like those charts. I have not seen that before. And then there wasn't just two options. Like there were 6 or 7 different ways. I was like, oh, I'm going to bookmark this and show it to people. I think it's super helpful. So I so appreciate Erika. She was the 15th certified financial therapist out there in this country. Out of now there's 100. That's still a very small number. So it's understandable that people necessarily haven't heard of this field. But the fact that she's put so much wisdom and compilations of characters she has known and worked with into this book, I think it's not a dry tome. From you and I have both read books by people who are more on the academic side, and it reads kind of more like a study, as opposed to these are stories of very real situations, and you can kind of jump around and pick the ones that might be most applicable to your own life and read it not as, here's how you did it wrong, but like, oh, here's some thoughts and ideas and things I might try. I like that she was talking about like, try it out, have a little test, do an experiment, see how it goes. We don't have to get this perfect instantly, especially when we think about where we've come from, which is certainly not even close to perfect.
Well, and I also found it interesting, and you don't have to read the book straight through. You can go to pertinent chapters, ones you first or hardest. But if you do read it through, you actually, because it's the same characters, you kind of see their evolution and their growth and everything. I mean, to the point, and I forget exactly how she said it, but talking about one of the female characters, was it Sam maybe? And which she even says as a little throwaway is like, yes, she finally got married. And it just kind of there
felt more like,
yeah, these are people I know and easier to relate to is what I thought.
Yeah, definitely makes it much more digestible, I would say. And of course, I love that when, her father was such a big influence in her life and being the money person who was super open and teaching his kids trading stocks side by side. I love that. That's just so unusual. And the fact that she has found a way to bring that to more people who most of us did not have that experience. So we just are so appreciative of Erika and the work she does. We'll have all the links in the show notes. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you next time. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from her.
Be sure to subscribe to the show and please share it with your friends. Show notes and more information available at takebackretirement.com. Huge thanks for the original music by the one and only Raymond Loewy through New Math in New York. See you next time.
Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group, American Financial Management Group, and Sophia Financial are separate entities. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. This information is not intended to be a substitute for individualized tax advice. Please consult your tax advisor regarding your specific situation.